And welcome in to another edition of Where the 99 Lead. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host. Where the 99 Lead, we talk about the historic 99 steps that lead to the University of Pikeville campus and from the UPike campus back into our communities. Special guest today, we talk about one of my favorite new programs at the University of Pikeville. That's the Film and Media Arts program, joined by Assistant Professor of the Film and Media Arts program, Bruce Parsons. Bruce, welcome in.
Thanks, Andrew. Glad to be back.
Let's talk about your background. Let's introduce Bruce Parsons to folks that are tuned in today.
I'm a local boy. I'm from Pikeville. I grew up here.
Right.
Moved around a little bit. My stepdad was in the military, so we got to travel. Went to Morehead State for undergrad. Wanted to study sort of broadcasting, television, filmmaking. Didn't really have that there. Sort of pieced together an illustration and graphic design and web background there. And then did my film work at Ohio University, got my MFA there, spent 3 years studying just film, which was fantastic. Got to make a couple things, sold a couple films that I made.
Right.
Traveled the world, got to go to Ecuador with some doctors and shoot some documentaries on tropical disease research, spent some time in Ecuador, spent some time in Indonesia, doing the same sort of thing.
Right.
Worked with the Apple Shop here in the sort of Central Appalachian region for a while, working with young people, teaching them about documentary film, about cameras, about things like that.
Sure. Of course, it does involve hardware with
Yeah.
cameras and such
Yeah.
as that, and those are part of the tools of the craft. Let's talk about some of the films that you've made during your time while you were studying, and you made some films. I find that very interesting. So let's hear about some of those.
Sort of, my process for making a film is I think about something I'd like to watch.
Sure.
And if it doesn't exist, then I'll try to make it.
Right.
So there were some cartoonists doing some work in Chicago. When I wanted to make film as a kid, you couldn't afford cameras in those days. You didn't
Right.
have camera phones and all that sort of stuff. So
Sure.
I started drawing comics as a way to still tell stories and try to make film on a budget.
Right.
And so I've always been into cartoonists and comics and things. So I made some films with some guys in Chicago who were already creating cartoons on their own, and it sort of timed up just right that I made a film about some people who had just established their own audience. So good or bad, people wanted to see my film when it was done, which was
Right.
very lucky for me.
Yeah.
But I also made a film about my dad and my grandfather and about Pikeville and meeting my grandfather for the first time and traveling around and doing that sort of thing. So you sort of, if you don't make a film, the film sort of makes you.
Sure.
Especially documentary, you get wrapped up in it and you get overwhelmed with it, and it's a lot of fun.
When you start the process, you have something in mind.
Mm-hmm.
How many times does a finished project reflect what you began with?
I've yet to make one that was the same in the end as
Sure.
it was in the beginning. It's that's one of the great things about a film is you learn as you go. So your sort of preconceived notion in the beginning is never what it is at the end,
Right.
because you get so many personalities and other stories and things that happen. You got to be open to accept that as they come.
Absolutely. Bruce Parsons, Assistant Professor of Film and Media Arts at the University of Pikeville. It's a new program. Let's talk about its origins.
It sort of started before I came. Pike TV, which is where we're at now, sort of came into fruition. Governor Patton and all the folks involved with that ushered that in. And the communication major at UPike is the largest major on campus.
Sure.
And so they wanted to bring about a broadcasting part of the communication major. So they developed a couple of courses. And I came in as the Director of New Media in the Public Affairs Office. And because I had a terminal degree and a background in this sort of thing, they asked me if I might want to teach a class or two. And I did, and it was a great experience. And then sort of Governor Patton is a big fan of the documentary and is a big fan of filmmaking. And I think there's a lot of opportunities in this region for that sort of work.
Absolutely.
And he said, are you and some of the other faculty interested in making this a full major? And so, we started the process to see if there was interest, and there was. And so I spent last spring with some other faculty members, and we wrote a SACS proposal, and now we're 100% accredited.
Wow. It's definitely a process, and I can remember on an earlier edition of Where the 99 Lead talking about the beginning of the program, and it was down the road. It's hard to believe, but it is there. It is accredited now. Let's talk about how it's going. How's it been accepted by the students, its popularity? How many students are involved?
It's been great so far. This fall semester is the first time we've had film and media arts classes on the books.
Yes.
So a few of them were a little skittish, I think. Right now I've got probably 50 to 60 students enrolled in FMA classes.
That's incredible.
Next semester, everyone's doing pre-registration right now, and almost every single slot is full.
Wow.
We've got about 4 film and media arts classes on the books, and students are lining up to take them.
Is part of its popularity the YouTube generation, the camera phone, the smartphone? We all have phones available at any given moment to film something that happens in the world. Is that because of our generation now that is that part of the popularity?
It is, and they're not intimidated by the technology.
Right.
When I learned to use a camera, I was so afraid, and I might break in. I didn't know what to do. And you bring them down to the studio now, and they're really hands-on and ready. And they're not afraid of the camera. They're not afraid of learning to edit on a computer or using that technology.
Right.
So, they've got a leg up in that.
Absolutely. Talking with Bruce Parsons, assistant professor of film and media arts at the University of Pikeville. It's a new program, relatively new program at the University of Pikeville, and in my opinion, a great addition to the course lineup at the University of Pikeville. Bruce, we talk about film and media arts and the curriculum. Let's talk about some of those classes that students will take in that major.
Sort of the first class you take is a history of electronic communication. And it's a general ed requirement. It satisfies that need, so we get students. It's a good introduction to film and media arts, and a lot of students find out about the major in the program for the first time through that course. And so we sort of start with the telegraph and end with Twitter and YouTube, and we cover anything and everything in between. We have a script writing course that we're going to teach for the first time next semester that I'm really excited about. We have digital media class, a broadcast class. For the first time next semester, we're going to have an advanced broadcast class where students will come down to the studio and create their own 30-minute UPike news show. Right. So, the more opportunities we throw at them, the more they seem to be ready for it. So the curriculum is really great, and because we are a liberal arts institution, to be a major in film and media arts, you go beyond that. You also have to take some art classes, 2D and 3D foundation. You have to take English literature. You have to take marketing, you have to take web design, so you have to get some business and some art and some culture and, fold all of that into the technology as well. Very good, and the technology already not intimidating to this generation, but I would imagine some of the other courses may be to those that it is an art, and I think that's something that we lose a hold on, that, okay, filmmaking, television, broadcasting, that's not really an art, but it truly is. Making documentaries, making films, starting with just an idea in someone's head and being able to put it onto a screen is certainly an art, and it's something that to be appreciative. Let's talk about, you mentioned the opportunities for documentaries in our area in Central Appalachia. There are documentaries, so many ideas that documentaries could take you anywhere in the world, but there are opportunities here. I think the creation of the Hatfield-McCoy drama, the mini-series, and there was a drama or a documentary that followed that as well, part of our history, and it had been forgotten. It's brought that feud back to light to the world by the documentary and the mini-series. What are some other opportunities for those type of projects in our region? There are lots of those, and that's one of the things we start off with is, students get intimidated by what their story is going to be about. The cameras don't intimidate them, but the storytelling does. Sure. And so you have to really teach them that it doesn't have to be always this great big battle or conflict. You just boil it down to someone who's interesting, who's had an interesting life and can tell that in an interesting way. Life here is different. There's an infinite number of stories all through Central Appalachia, with the mining and the timber and the great political figures that have come out of this area. They can sort of, throw a dime out and catch just about any story they want. They just have to learn how to pull that out. And that's one of the things that we differ. It's not just a technology major. Sure. Right? You're going to learn how to connect with people. You're going to learn how to talk to people. And you're going to get involved in the community. Your final project for this major is a 30-minute documentary about something in the area. So, once you get them involved with the community and community members, they find out that there's just an infinite number of stories. Absolutely. And of course, we talk about the Hatfield-McCoy mini-series. We talk about the documentary that went along with that. And we talk about some of the heroes and villains that it created.
And sometimes those are created based on the perception
Right.
of who's making the film.
Right. Absolutely. You know, a lot of people make the misconception that a documentary holds to the journalistic standard where
Sure.
you're fair and balanced, and you know, you get so involved when you make a documentary, it's almost impossible to be fair and balanced. You'll have personalities that you want to side with and stories that you find more interesting.
Sure.
You know, and things like that. And you know, in the documentary world, in the film world in general, whoever the villain is, in their mind, they're the hero.
Right.
Right. So you have to learn how to pull that apart.
We've seen some short mini documentaries, historical documentary type things that have been produced over the last year. We talk about Pike TV, and I know some of those have aired on Pike TV. Those are created by UPike students, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They spend, in the sort of intermediate broadcasting class, they spend a semester with Al Greenfield here at Pike TV. You know, and they choose different subjects around the city, around the county, and they explore those as story ideas. You know, and they end. The great thing about having Pike TV as part of this major, and that's a large part of why it's able to exist, is that when they make something, it's going to be more than just their friends and family that get to see it.
Right.
It's going to show on Pike TV, it's going to show on the internet, and instantly, you know, people can connect to it, which is a great thing.
Of course, some of those I know, the old Pikeville College Academy building, which is now Pikeville City Hall, something as simple as, not as extravagant as the Hatfield-McCoy feud. It's not worldwide,
Right.
and it has a huge popularity, but a single bridge in Pikeville, the Poly Bridge, which has a lot of history, and it was made into a documentary. I found it very interesting as well. Some other parts of Pikeville have been featured as well, and I think it's important to our history, not just in Pikeville, Pike County, in our entire region. These documentaries are something that to be treasured, and they're produced by UPike students. I think that's amazing with a program that's so new.
Absolutely, and the connections the students make with the community members as they create these pieces, you know, they will remember the people they talk to, and vice versa. And so, you know, the networking that comes along with it is fantastic.
Of course, we talk with Bruce Parsons, Assistant Professor of Film and Media Arts at the University of Pikeville. It's a new program at the University of Pikeville, now an accredited major and part of the curriculum that is available at the University of Pikeville. Great addition, in my opinion. And we talk about curriculum, we talk about filmmaking. Now let's get down to the guts of the story. And UPike produces graduates who are looking for careers. What are some career possibilities for someone who graduates with a film and media arts major?
You know, there's a lot of the sort of the obvious jobs, which is, you know, camera operator, video editor, you know, news professional, radio professional, things like that. I read a study as we were putting this major together that with all of the media outlets that exist in the world today, there are not enough producers to make content for them. Right. So it's a great time to major in this sort of thing. You get to stay up to date on technology. And then even beyond that strong base of what our majors are in television production and radio production and just straight film production, you know, if you learn to tell stories and you learn to connect with people, that can fold into almost any profession. A lot of marketing, a lot of sales, you know, web design and how to market yourself, how to market whoever your company is. With as many outlets as there are very few jobs now where if you have experience in digital filmmaking and digital media and how to create a short video and get it to the web, you're a huge asset to your company. You know.
I know, even in a radio station, which is not a not typically video based, but we have someone who handles that because of the web today, and being able to get videos on the web onto social media for the radio station. It's almost become a full-time job in something that's not video-based at all. Let's talk about student experiences in the field. Obviously, they spend time in the classroom. They're learning about equipment. They're learning the processes and such, but students also are able to experience things in the field, get some practical experience. Let's talk about what they do.
You know, the way the class is sort of structured is we might do a lecture and show some things on a Tuesday, and then on a Thursday we're down here at the Pike TV studio, hands-on, and they're using all the equipment. So there's a number of possibilities here at Pike TV. You know, where we're shooting this right now is one set of 3 that are just within, you know, eye shot of this. If you haven't been down here, it's hard to imagine it. but they come down and can completely transform all of this and shoot another TV show as soon as we're done with this one.
Right.
There's lots of opportunities for local radio stations to get some work and to get some experience. We have the Apple Shop and some other film organizations within a stone's throw. The largest documentary film festival in the country is only 5 hours from here.
Wow.
It's sort of the quintessential documentary festival, and we're right there at it. So it's a great opportunity. The students, anything that they sort of want to come up with, if they want to travel for an internship, they can do that by all means, but there's plenty of opportunities here locally.
Absolutely. You talk about a documentary film festival.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine and foresee UPike students with entries.
Yeah, absolutely. That's sort of where we want to get to, is that they're creating pieces that they want to put out into the world. And so when you go to a film festival or turn on the documentary channel on your cable, you're going to see stories about Pikeville produced by UPike students.
Right. How important is Pike TV to this program?
It's essential. It's essential. The equipment and the space. We just started teaching in here last May. April and May at the very end of the semester. The class before that, we got through some basic camera things and some basic editing things, but without the dedicated space, it was difficult. By the end of that same class now, students are setting up a green screen, setting up their own lights, using a teleprompter, and doing everything on their own. So having a dedicated space to come and work is just fantastic.
And I get a chance to encounter and meet a lot of those students as well as they intern. They get their practical work in with some of the programs that I'm involved with. You talked earlier about storytelling and communication, how important that was to the Film and Media Arts program and to that major. Let's talk about the importance of that and what it means to a student who may have the technical aspect covered.
Right.
How tough is that for them to gain the storytelling, per se?
The transition is tough. A lot of students are good with technology, but they've not learned to be creative with technology. And that's sort of one of the major things that we push. And it really comes down to learning to interview, learning to connect to people when you actually do the interview, and then pull out the bits that are interesting, right? We try to encourage them to go after stories that they're interested in the first place. Don't just give me something you think I want you to make. Show me something that is interesting for everyone.
Sure.
And that is always the hardest thing. Teaching storytelling is the hardest.
Let's talk about a student who has a documentary assigned. I'm not sure, are these assignments a particular documentary, or do the students get to come up with their own ideas?
They have to do pitch. They have to come up with 3 ideas that they think are good enough, and they come in and pitch the story. These are the characters, these are the locations, this is how I would go about making it, this is why it's interesting. And sort of as a class, we talk about the stories and whittle it down to the ones that will really work.
What can we look forward to in the future?
I think there'll be lots of documentaries about local political figures. That's always fun. The political film is always fun. It gets a lot of emotion in it. But they always surprise me. When you come up with something, I think they'll come up with A and B, and they come up with everything in between. Right? They're so unpredictable as students.
Unbelievable. We talk about the Film and Media Arts program at the University of Pikeville. Bruce Parsons, assistant professor. Who are other members of the faculty in the program?
We have Daryl Rife, who's a Pikeville College graduate. He did his master's in London in film studies. And so there's a whole film studies component to this where you learn to watch a movie. And you watch it for more than just story and if you liked it or not. And you got to talk about the theory behind it and all that sort of stuff. So he teaches a lot of those courses on an adjunct basis. And then beyond that, we have the art professors that are involved, the English professors, the comm professors, because it is interdisciplinary. There's a lot of UPike faculty who get to join in. Absolutely.
The program is still in its infancy, but I can see the popularity of this program exploding. And I can see classes filling very quickly because it's a generation that is so focused on video and YouTube. I know college students, one of my own children, who spends time on YouTube just looking for and searching for videos, and so many of those are so readily accessible. I can see this absolutely exploding. Let's talk about Bruce Parsons. You've been a filmmaker.
I have.
And now you teach filmmaking. the technical aspect, the storytelling aspect. What's in the future? Bruce Parsons have any more projects up his sleeve?
I'm working on a film right now about editorial cartoonists. I tend to go back to politics. My mother was really involved in politics and journalism as I grew up, so
yes.
I'm always drawn to that. But I'm working on a film with Joel Pett, who's a Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist at the Lexington Herald,
Sure.
And a couple of cartoonists, one from New York and one from Portland, Oregon. And so an idea of, if someone draws a film or draws a cartoon that's, about a Kentucky issue, and then someone in Portland, Oregon draws a cartoon about a Kentucky issue, what do they really know about it? What is the perception of it? How do people react to it? Stuff like that. And this will be my first feature-length film. I made some short films, so this one's going to be a little over an hour long.
Very good. Yeah. Joel Pett, very polarizing.
Yes.
He is a polarizing editorial cartoonist, but polarizing and regardless of a political stance, I look at his cartoons on a regular basis in the Lexington Herald Leader, and while he is polarizing, I will like one day and the next day not.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a political side that he takes, but it sends people in different directions.
Right, and cartoons and films have a lot in common. They're one of those few things that a few seconds into looking or watching one, people have an instant emotional reaction, and so it's a fun thing to make a movie about.
Absolutely. Bruce Parsons, Assistant Professor of Film and Media Arts at the University of Pikeville. That's our focus today, the new program, Film and Media Arts, and you'll find out how to gain more information about the program in just a little while. Bruce, as the Director of New Media for the university, in addition to your duties as part of the faculty, you rolled out a new UPike app for the smartphone, Android and iPhone available?
It's iPhone right now. Android, I'm about 90% finished.
What goes into designing an app? Because I think those of us with smartphones, it's easy for us. Okay, let's go find the top 25. Let's find the free. Okay, we see a free. All right, there's a better version out there for $1.99. We'll get that. But we don't. I don't think about what goes into it. So what goes into designing an app?
Yeah, there's a decent amount of work that goes into it.
I would imagine.
There's a lot of coding, a lot of computer programming language that you got to kind of learn. There's a little bit of a learning curve there, but there's lots of great resources online to help you get through that. I did a lot of sort of research on my own smartphone. I would spend time just looking at the apps that I really enjoyed and the stuff I used on a regular basis and stuff I didn't, and looking for functionality and features and talking to people and said, hey, if there was a UPike app, what would you want it to do?
Sure.
And so that's the easy part. Then making it do those things, slightly more difficult. But we started on it in August, and we worked on it in the public affairs office, and we had a lot of great content to pull from. We were already creating videos and photos and all these things that people were interested in. So we really created it as a way to funnel everything into one sort of place. So if you want to check UPike's Facebook, their Twitter, if you want to get on Joule as a student and check what's going on your student account, you can do that as well. You can watch the newest videos. I put a nice feature in. We've yet to use it, but we can send you a push notification. Your phone will growl like a bear. So if your pocket ever growls, UPike's got some news for you.
Very nice.
Yeah. But it's one place where you can see who won the basketball game last night, and then also see what news is happening with the university.
So about a 4-month process. How many people involved?
We had about 3 different staff members
Wow.
who were working on it, and we tried it on about 7 phones as a trial basis, and worked out some of the bugs and that sort of thing. And it's version 1.0 right now, so there's more functionality to come. We're going to integrate the library, more stuff with the maps, some more university publications will be folded into it, some more video features, but those will be coming probably over Christmas break. So
if I download the UPike app today, what are some of the features I'll see?
There's a great campus map option. If you're, we really tried to build it so that current students, employees, UPike community members would have things to do, as well as prospective students and parents and all that sort of thing. So, you can keep up with the latest news updates. You can get on Facebook and see what people have been posting, what people are talking about, and join in on that conversation. See what's trending with UPike on Twitter, and just, learn about different things at the university, learn about things in the academic side, learn about things in the athletic side. Quick access to all that sort of stuff. If you want to schedule, an admissions visit, The phone numbers and the email addresses are all built into the app. You can directly contact Gary Justice and all those guys.
Sure. So if someone wants to learn more about the Film and Media Arts program at the University of Pikeville, they'll find it there.
Absolutely.
And how do we find the app?
If you go to the App Store, the Apple App Store, and just search for UPike, it's the only one that shows up.
Very, very nice. Yeah. And technology, obviously film and media arts, you're heavily involved in that. Social media, Facebook, Twitter. Do you see the next big thing coming in social media?
It's tough. I think the hardware is about as good as it's going to get for a while. If you look at the progression of the smartphones, they sort of bottleneck a little bit. There's going to be some new software that's going to come out and change everything. I don't know if it'll be through Google or Facebook or, but it's going to be a software-based platform.
It's in the works.
Yeah.
Will Facebook, Twitter, will they go away?
I don't think so. I think they'll sort of become an amalgam and morph into, everything seems to try to go down into one application.
Sure.
Right? You can get more people to use one application as opposed to 4 or 5. So,
how does a business, how does an organization, how does an institution like the University of Pikeville exist without being involved in social media today?
It's near impossible. If you really want to be involved in the conversation and connect with all the different people who might be interested in your organization or university, you sort of got to get in the mix.
It's become an important part of our lives. Bruce Parsons, Assistant Professor of Film and Media Arts at the University of Pikeville. He's part of that faculty, but also Director of New Media at the University of Pikeville. What comes next? All right, we've got the app. Okay, we've got the iPhone app. Android is close. What's next in new media?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We try to stay ahead of the curve. We try to, the same way we're creative with technology in the film world, we try to be creative in technology with the university. We like to see where we can push it and what we can go and get out of our comfort zone a little bit. Just because we're in Eastern Kentucky doesn't mean we don't know technology. And connecting with people in Eastern Kentucky is different than connecting with people in other places.
How so?
Word of mouth is still the greatest, tool we have for this area. Figuring out how to put that, an Eastern Kentucky social media app would be fantastic. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
An Eastern Kentucky social media app that's not abused.
Yes.
Would be great for our region because we've got a couple of those. Bruce Parsons, very in touch with media. Obviously, that's what you do. The University of Pikeville, very in touch with media as well. And I think kudos to the administration for recognizing that need and recognizing the need for film and media arts, and not just that, but Pike TV, which came along before. What a great addition to our community.
It really is.
Pike TV allowing folks that have a television or maybe have a computer, but they're not able to get out. They're able to find out. Folks that don't have time to get to events and able to check up on city commission or fiscal court and stay in tune with our world. It certainly has made our communities more transparent, and I think that's a great thing. Not just the governmental type programs, but also the entertainment type programs as well. UPike athletic events as well included. It's been a great addition.
And I think there's a lot of great room for us to grow, using this technology for education. I think we're in the foreseeable future we could see a network where students at East Ridge or at Pikeville High School or at Pike Central are having chemistry study sessions with UPike students up on the hill, but they never leave their classroom.
Sure.
And they're able to collaborate across all kinds of platforms.
He's way more high-tech than I am. Bruce Parsons, Assistant Professor of Film and Media Arts at the University of Pikeville. If someone's interested in this program, maybe a potential student, a high school student now, maybe someone who's enrolled now and they would like to change majors, you've got their interest. How do they get in touch with you and find out more information?
You can just call the university or get on the website, and you'll find all my contact information there at upike.edu, and we'll help you any way we can.
There you go. Bruce Parsons, good guy, and he is Assistant Professor of Film and Media Arts at the University of Pikeville, Director of New Media at the University of Pikeville. Bruce, our pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Bruce Parsons, our guest on this edition of Where the 99 Lead. It's a program brought to you by the University of Pikeville. We're talking all things UPike, and we tell you again where those 99 lead, not only to campus, but back into our communities and around the world. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host.